If you are below 18 years of age, I suggest you stop watching this video because it's probably not for you. Also, if you are sensitive to blood, gore, slaughter, and horrific things, well, it probably is a good idea to stop watching this video. Because this game that I have on the table right now is all about horror. This is the horror game show, where you portray as a TV producer, creating the most despicable, horrible game show, where contestants run around out on the board, slaughtering each other. I am going to take you through this game. I'm going to show you how to set it up. I'm going to show you how to play it and what you can do in this horrible, horrific game. So this here is the setup of the main board. We are going to take a look at the player setup after we have taken a look at this setup here. In the center of the board, each player pick one sector each. These are placed next to each other so that the roads can connect. You can place these in any directions you want to, but it will affect the gameplay later in the game. Above the sectors we have the show board, but also the available hunters. These are not a part of the game yet, and the players can later choose to recruit any of these hunters. Each of these hunters have their own little board. On this board you can see a bunch of information that I will tell you more about in a bit. For now we need to place a little cube on the highest amount of their life track. And also take a little acrylic standee representing that hunter and place it on their board. We also need to take their action cards, and you can see which hunter the action cards belongs to by looking at the little portrait. Some of these hunters also have their own specific tokens, so be aware about that and place them out to the hunter they belong to. On the show board we also need to set up some cards. Way over here to the left we have the achievement cards. The green ones here are called challenge cards. The blue one with a TV screen are called event cards. The last one here with a little jigsaw piece is called intrigue cards. On the round track we need to put the little watch here on the first round. So this here is the player area, and this is your player board. The players start by choosing a color that they would like to portray as. In this case, blue. Then the players need to take 6 basic action cards that corresponds to their player color. You can see that by looking at the little square in the left corner. This is blue and the player board is blue. These are placed face down on the TV. The square next to it, that is your discard area. On the right side of your player board, you have 3 meters. The first one up here is your fans. The one in the bottom is the amount of money that you have earned. The starting amount of fans is 3, but dollars is set to 0. Then the players also need to get some contestants on their team. And you can either draft these or simply pick them at random. If you choose to pick them at random, you simply put their little portrait token in a bag, give it a good shake, and draw 3 contestants. When you have received your contestants, you take their player board, just like we did with the hunters, and we also take their specific cards. Again, you can see which ones the cards belong to by looking at the portrait. We also take their little standee, put our player color at the bottom so we know that this one belongs to us, and then put the cube on the top of the life track again. Lastly, each player is dealt 3 contract cards at random. These should be placed above your player board. You can also choose to draft these contracts. Your contestant cards are now shuffled into your deck. The player who has seen a horror movie most recently gets the media favorite marker. This is the first player marker. But we also need to place out some more tokens on the board. We need to have 4 of these tunnels and 24 other random tokens. These can be equipment, weapons, traps, or whatever. These are again placed out on the boards where there are red dots, face down. And the way we would do this is that we would put these randomly in a pool, all face down, and let the players place them out on the board. And now we need to put our contestants out on the board. And we can do this in two different ways. Either by simply going from the first player and then clockwise around the table, placing out our little figures. And we can place them on any of the spots that has a red symbol. But we can also put them out in secret. To do it in secrecy, we simply take the contestants' little tokens here, or blips as they're called in this game. And then we put them in this bag along with all the other blips and give it a good shake. Then we randomly place out contestants with the question mark facing up, out on the red spots. This way we have no idea where our contestants are, but neither do the other players, meaning that we might have a chance to survive longer. In this way the contestants are hidden until someone moves over that token and exposes what is beneath. So that was the setup of the game. And yes, it does take a little bit time to set up, but look at this table presence. I mean, there are a lot of components here. There's a lot of boards, there's a lot of different cards, and when all the different players know how to set up the little own areas and everything, it goes quite smooth. I chose to set up the game here showing the little acrylics here because, well, it looks cooler, but also it gives you an idea of how different the two different ways of setting the game up actually is. Because here you can clearly see where the contestants are out on the sectors. But imagine if we only had tokens. Well, we would have no idea where the enemies are, where the contestants are, where items are, or anything, because we just wouldn't remember that, right? So there's quite a big difference. And there's pros and cons with everything. If you have them shown like this, well, you pretty much know where the enemies that you want to get are. But if they're hidden, well, your character might have a bit of a more chance to actually surviving the game. This game is about you being a TV producer, producing the most horrific TV show on Earth, where contestants go into this arena and try to slay other contestants. And your role is to control the contestants. You will do this by using these action cards. But in this game it is truly all for themselves, meaning that you can attack your own teammates. It does not matter as long as somebody gets killed. When you manage to kill another contestant or when you are in a fight, you will get more fans, you will get more money, and the producer with the most money at the end of the game is the winner. Before we take a look at the gameplay, I want to show you the contestants but also the hunters boards. So this is one of the contestants boards and this is one of the hunter boards. And you can pretty clear see the difference. The hunters have a red background and the contestants have a blue background. At the top of these boards you can see the name of the contestants or the hunter. Next we have a little character running, indicating how many steps that these characters can do. Beneath that we have a little fist with a number. That is how many die that this contestants will throw when they are attacking or defending. The skull indicates the critical hit value when you are in a fight. I will tell you more about this in a bit. Out here we can see the life bar. When the little token here goes all the way down to the bottom, well then that character is dead. And here we have our inventory slots. This is where you can keep your equipment that you find out on the board. But some of these will actually have a blocked inventory spot, meaning that this hunter here can only have one item in his inventory. The horror game show is played out during 3 phases. The first one is the beginning phase. This one contains of 4 different steps. But one of them is only played out during round number 3, 6 and 9. If we are in any of those rounds, well, we need to do some elimination out on the sectors. So during the other rounds that are marked with green, we will not do this step. But if we end up on 3, 6 or 9, we will need to do the reveal step. As you can see here, we have 4 squares. Some of them are marked out with red or black. And remember when I told you that at the start of the game, how you place the sectors does matter. Because when we end up on these rounds, we need to eliminate some of those sectors. Meaning that in round number 3, we eliminate the one marked with red here. When we come up to number 6, we eliminate the one marked with red here. And then the one we have eliminated before is already gone. When we come down to 9, 3 of the different sectors will go away, leaving only 1. That was the reveal step. The first step in the beginning phase if you are on round 3, 6 and 9. Otherwise, we simply do not do that step. And this is quite vital to keep a track on, because once a sector disappears, everything on that sector goes away and dies. So if you are in round 2, for example, and you have contestants on this sector, well, you might want to move them away from there if you do not want them to die. Step 2, or step 1 in the other normal rounds, is to draw cards. And this is where the producers, you, draw cards from the draw pile. And you should have exactly 5 cards on your hand. Now, you can have more cards on your hand during the gameplay, but at the end of your round you need to discard down so you have 5 cards on your hand again. If you should draw any cards with a contestant that is dead and gone from the game, well, you get to remove that card from the game and then draw a new one to replace that card. If your action deck ever runs out of cards, well, then you simply take the discard pile, shuffle them up, and then you are ready to go again. And then we have the event step. This is simply where we flip over the top card from the event deck and we see what the event card says. Some of these has a one-time effect, but some of these events will last the entire round until a new card is drawn and placed above the old one. The next step in the beginning phase is to draw a challenge card. And just like we did with the event, we take them and flip them up here on the discard space. Now these cards here are a brilliant way for the producers in this game to make some extra money, because at the end of this round, whoever managed to complete this challenge will get the money stated at the bottom of the card. So that was the first phase, the beginning phase. Now we move into phase number 2. This is the main phase, and this is where the producers, meaning you, get to play cards from their hand. But we also have a chance of recruiting some hunters to our team. To do this, we need to have the first player token, or we need to have a card on our hand letting us do a contract to contract a hunter. You can have a maximum of 2 hunters on your team. But if you have 2 hunters on your team and one of them ends up dying, well, then you can contract a new hunter. These hunters are characters that you can use out on the board to, well, hunt the other participants in this horrific game. When you contract one of these hunters, you simply take their board, but also the cards and tokens, and place them next to your player area. But you don't get to put them out on the arena just yet. So now you have received a hunter in your player area that you can control. You have their little figure, you have their player board, and you have their cards in your deck, all ready to go. But you can't really introduce them just yet, because contracting them and getting them to your player area, well, that is one thing. But to get them out on the board, you again need to have the media attention token, the first player token, or the right card on your hand to be able to actually introduce them out on the arena. Once you have that, you get to place the little figure here in one of the entrances around the board's edges. So during your turn, you can contract a hunter or introduce them to the arena, if you have the right cards or if you have the first player token. But you can of course also play action cards from your hand To do this, we need to take a look at the card first to understand what the different symbols mean. So this here is one of the basic action cards, and this one belongs to one of the contestants. As you can see up here, we have a play symbol on one of the cards and a pause symbol on the other. If you play an action card with a play symbol, that means that you can keep on playing more cards. But if you play a card with a pause symbol, that will be your last action card during this turn. Up here we can see two symbols, and on the other card we only have one. This means that with this action card, you could choose to move either a hunter or one of your contestants. This one here means that you can only move one of the contestants on your team. But here you can choose. In the center of the card we have some artwork. Down here we have the name of the card. And in the bottom we will have an effect, and instead of using one of the move actions, you can choose to play the card for the effect. But if this card is assigned to any character, the character needs to be alive and out on the arena to be able to use the effect. If the effect belongs to one of the basic cards, you do not need to keep this in mind, as you can use the effect anytime. This was a basic card and this is a contestant card, and the hunter cards actually looks the same as the contestants. So these hunters that are out on the arena and active will be played in the same way as your contestants would have been. But they cannot win the game. Some of the action cards have something that is called reactions. These are effects that you can use when it's not your turn. But you can only play a reaction if the card you played before this did not have a pause button. If the last card you played had a pause, you will not be able to play a reaction. That's how you play cards from your hand. You simply take a card from your hand and you play it on the table, either using the move action or the effect at the bottom. To use the effect, if it is connected to a character, the character needs to be out on the arena. And you can't move and then use the effect, you need to choose either one. If you play a card with the play symbol, you get to play more cards from your hand. If you play one with the pause symbol, well, you will need to stop your turn. But if you want to move your contestants out on the arena, how would you do that? A move can be initiated in a bunch of different ways. By using the action cards that I showed you before, but some effects will actually also let the characters move. Some of the Intrigue cards will also have effects that will let the character make a move. But some of the objects that can be found out on the arena will also give the characters abilities to move. To move out on the map is actually not that hard. As we can see, there are a bunch of squares out on the map. And to move a character, we need to look at their character card to see the amount of steps they can move. And then we simply move that amount of steps out on the map. And the characters themselves, they can move horizontal, vertical, and even diagonal. Whenever they end up on a square with a blip, they get to pick it up and place it on our inventory slots. And remember that you cannot place any equipment in the inventory slots that are not available. But if they for some reason do not want the blip, well, they can simply put it back where they found it. If the contestants accidentally steps on a trap, they will have to deal with the damage standing on the token. And then they need to lower their life meter with that amount. But they actually have a chance to block out some of the damage. We need to look at the range of this character, in this case 6. Then that character gets to roll the same amount of die. And every die that they roll that have an amount higher than 4 will block out damage. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4 die will block out damage. So the 6 goes down to 2. When we have dealt with the trap, it is removed from the map. Whenever a contestant discovers a tunnel, we leave them open. And when we find more tunnels out on the map, these tunnels are considered to be adjacent. meaning that we can jump down in one tunnel and come out from another. The pillow will give the contestants 1 extra armor, meaning that the first wound of an attack will not count. The little pill here will let that contestant re-roll 3 die. Once it's used, it is discarded. The first aid kit will heal your character by the amount stated on the token. After you have used it, it is discarded. If your character finds some dope, this means that they can use this token 1 time to make a move. And then it is discarded. And then we have the contestant blips. These are of course only in use if we have used the hidden mode of the game. If we discover a contestant, that contestant should pop up in this place right away. And now we initiate a fight between these two. There are many different blips and weapons and pills and everything that you can find out on the map. But most of them will actually not stop your movement. It is only when you discover another contestant or step in a trap that you will have to stop your movement. Otherwise you can simply pick up whatever you find and put it in your inventory. Or you could just use it right away if you want to. I mean, if you really want to heal, well, use that first aid kit right away. And the trap will, of course, damage you, and that is why you have to stop. And when you discover another contestant, well, you end up in a fight, so you can't run away from that. But how do you fight in this game? Here we can see a fight between the cool Adrian and the beautiful Emmanuel. If we look at their stats, we can see that Adrian has a strength of 4. But he also has a weapon with +2, meaning that he will roll 6 die. While Emmanuel over here has a strength of 4, but she has no weapons, so she will only roll 4 die. Adrian rolls these results here, and we should sort these die from the highest going down to the lowest. Emmanuel rolls her die and she gets this result here. Again, she sorts them from the highest going down to the lowest. Now we need to compare these die results. If we start with the first die, we can see that Adrian got 5, but Emmanuel got 6, meaning that she has a higher number than Adrian, and she will inflict wounds. But, as you can see down here, Adrian's critical hit value is 5, meaning that if he hits 5 or higher, he will also inflict wounds on his opponent. So in this case here, both Emmanuel and Adrian causes wounds on each other. But then Emmanuel has a pillow, meaning that she will block out the first wound. So she will actually not take a wound during the first die result. But Adrian will take 1 wound. If we move on to the second result, we can see that here it is a tie. Both of them rolled 4, meaning that no one will take a wound. Here, Adrian has 1 higher than Emmanuel, so Emmanuel will take 1 wound. On this one here, again, Adrian has the higher value, meaning that, again, Emmanuel will take 1 wound. Now we come to the 2 last die, and as you can see, Emmanuel has nothing to compare with. In a case like this, the empty space will count as 1, meaning that here it will be a tie against 1, 1, and here it will also become a tie against 1 and 1. So on the last 2 results, we had ties and no one gets wound. When we have the result of how many wounds we have inflicted or received, we need to manage that by putting our little token here up and down on our life track. If we manage to ever kill the other opponent, meaning that their life ends up on 0, well, that character leaves the board and ends up on the character's board that managed to slay that character, because these are now considered to be your trophy and will count as scores at the end of the game. But you don't only get the character as a trophy, you also get fans. You get 1 fan for participating in a fight, but you also get 1 fan every time you manage to kill an opponent. Some of the action cards will actually also give you fans, but also some of the events. And fans are a good thing to have, because you can sacrifice them. Yeah, that's right. Easy come, easy gone. You can sacrifice 2 fans to re-roll 1 die of your choice during a fight. Or sacrifice 2 fans to get 1 more dollar 3 fans will let you uncover any blip out on the board, and 3 fans will also let you draw an intrigue card. But what are the intrigue cards? Intrigue cards are, well, quite intriguing, as they will give your characters a bunch of extra actions or effects that they can use at pretty much any time during the gameplay. Some of them will need to be played as a response, but others can be played during a fight or at any time. This will let you get more weapons, change the result of die, draw more cards, have the other players discarding their cards, and so on. There are a bunch of these and they affect the gameplay quite a bit. And that's the way the game goes on, until one of these 3 things happen. Either that there's only 1 contestant left out in the arena, or if there are no contestants left out on the arena, if we have reached round number 12 on the round track. Then we goes into the end of game scoring. And here, first, we need to hand out some achievement cards. And there are 3 of these. We have Last Man Standing for whoever stands on the arena last. We have the Doomslayer for the contestants who killed the most hunters. And then we have the Showmaster, and this is for the character who has the most trophies. The ones that receive these achievements will also get the amount stated down in the bottom left corner. Once we have dealt these out to the appropriate players, we also need to check our contracts. Remember, these were the ones that we got at the start of the game. If we have fulfilled the text that stands here, we will get the amount of dollars stated down in the left corner. Each player receives $2 for every trophy of a contestant that their character have, whether they are alive or not, and $3 for every trophy of a hunter that their characters have. They will also receive $2 for every contestant that survived the show. And lastly, we get to convert 2 fans into $1, meaning that in this case we have 6 fans, which will give us $3. When we have added up all the trophies, the contracts, the surviving little contestants here, we have an amount of dollars. And the player that has the most dollars is the winner of the game. If there is a tie, the player with the most trophies wins the game. If there's still a tie, the player with the most hunter trophies wins the game. If there is still a tie, well, the audience is just not happy and they demand to get their money back. And everyone loses. And that, my friend, is how you play the horror game show, which is a horrific, brutal, bloody game. But it is also a lot of fun. I mean, the game is not that hard to learn. Yes, there are a lot of components, there's a lot of things going on the board, so there's a lot of things for you to keep a track on, especially the way that every character can move everything out on the table, so there's a lot of things going on. But it is also a lot of fun running around on this little arena here, getting weapons, getting first aid kits, and just trying to take out the hunters and take out your own friends. The game can play quite fast, but it can also last for a pretty long time, depending on how good the players you are facing are at playing this game. But as I said at the start of the video, if you are sensitive to blood, gore and horror, well, the horror game show is probably not for you. The game itself has quite a lot of replayability, since you have the different hunters and the different little contestants here that you can use out on the track. All of the different hunters have their different cards that you can use in different ways. And some of these hunters actually have their own little tokens as well. These are special tokens that they can use in certain ways to, well, mostly inflict damage. But also the different weapons here. There's a lot of things for the players to do, but also to discover in the game. And then we have all of the intrigue cards. There's quite a lot of intrigue cards here, and you won't be able to use all of them during just one game. Same thing with the event cards. There are so many different horrific events in this game, but it's fun! The contracts and the challenges are also a cool little feature in this game, and this is a good thing for the players to keep a track on these challenges and try to remember the contract, because these can be the difference between winning or losing. The artwork of the horror game show is dark, as it should be. I mean, this is a future that is despicable, raw, and bloody, and the game screams bloody horror. Artwork on the cards, the character, the little arena here. I mean, everything just feels a little bit dirty and bloody. The artwork itself, I would almost call it like these classic 80 horror movies, old school, raw, bloody horror art. Which is just what you expect from a game like this. It just fits this game so good. That was the horror game show, a game that is not for faint-hearted or really kids or anyone below 18 years of age. You should probably not play this game because it is bloody. But that is the point of the game. I mean, this is a horror game where you sit down around the table and your mission is to slay your friends. And even your own teammates. I mean, that's what makes this game so interesting, that you can move so many different characters in so many different ways. Even kill your own teammates and still get a trophy and get points for it. Because that is the point of the show, people dying. You don't want to save anyone in this game because you want to make the most horrific game ever. Now, what I have shown you here is a prototype, so there might be some things that change from when this game will actually come out. It will be on Kickstarter in February 2023, and there will be links down in the description, so be sure to check that out if you want to know more. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, throw in a comment there, tell me what you thought about the video, what you thought about the game, what you're going to eat for dinner. I don't care, tell me something, I will answer you back. But most important, people, please do not forget to keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace.